So what's the Grape Explorer talking about today? So if you've been following the Grape Explorer and David Kohl, we talk about grapes, varietals, especially winemaking varietals. We're going to talk about a number of areas that I never covered before, some grapes that I've never talked about. And but one of the interesting, fascinating things about the Grape Explorer, I'm always looking to explore and discuss a new area. And what we're going to talk about today is a wine from Mexico. And a lot of people don't know that actually Mexico produces wine. Because yes, we know Mexico produces beer, and we know that Mexico produces tequila. And I'm here to tell you that 90% of the alcohol that's consumed in Mexico is definitely tequila and beer. So, but wine is something fascinating, and I wanted to bring this up because we're going to talk about a producer here, which is Domecq, right here. And the Domecq family was actually a French family emigrating from France to Spain here. And we're talking about this area down here, which is called the Jerez area, which is sherry production here. Well, this company came up with an idea, and they wanted to create a brandy in Spain, which is probably the top-selling brandy in the world, and it's called Fundador. So obviously this company started many years ago. We're talking about, the 17th century, but at the same time, this the dream was to go to New Spain, which was at that time, they didn't have a name Mexico. It was called New Spain. And so this family, their dream was to create an area called Guadalupe to make it the next Napa Valley in Mexico, or at least in this area. I'm going to point this out on the map so you can actually get a better idea of exactly. This is located in the Baja Peninsula. Not too far from San Diego, very close. So we are considering this North America. It's not South America, as some people would want to know. Is this all part of North America? Of course it is. And the Mexican wine and winemaking began with the arrival of the Spanish in the 16th century, when they brought vines from Europe to modern-day Mexico, the oldest wine-growing region in the Americas. Think about that. Long before California was even producing wine, they were producing grapes production and viniculture in Spain. In Mexico, although there was indigenous grapes, the Spaniards brought different European varietals, and that's what we're going to talk about here because it's an interesting mix. So part of this wine is Carignan, which is a grape that exists in not only Spain but in France. But this also has an interesting grape varietal called Ruby Cabernet. Now, a lot of people probably don't know this grape because they see in California, they'll see Cabernet Sauvignon, but there was a grape that was actually created by a gentleman. And I want to zoom in on this label because I want to talk about this gentleman and the history of people who don't know. So Dr. Harold Olmo created Ruby Cabernet. It was a cross between Cabernet Sauvignon and Carignan that was created in 1936 at UC Davis in California. The intention was to combine Carignan's heat tolerance with Cabernet quality like Cinsault and like they do in Pinotage in South Africa. But that was the dream, to try to make a grape that's completely unique and different than Cabernet Sauvignon to tolerate heat. And of course, that's what we're looking at in Mexico. If you think about it, in the Baja Peninsula, it gets very hot, even though, you've got those maritime breezes coming from the Pacific Ocean. But this was something I wanted to talk about because a lot of people don't realize that there is actually Mexican wine. And I have a funny story to tell. I was in France one time at the wine fair, Vinexpo. It was in Bordeaux. And I was walking, through a lot of the booths. And all of a sudden I see a Mexican flag. And, I walk up to the booth and, and I saw there was a gentleman standing there. And I said, "Mexican wine?" He said, "Sí, señor." He said, "We are one of the largest producers of wine from Mexico." And I said, I'm just curious as all heck. I want to try it. And so they had grapes growing there, like, in production. They were showcasing some wines from the Nebbiolo grape, and they were also showcasing Zinfandel and Petit Syrah. And I thought it was really fascinating. But, just to zero in on this company here, Allied Domecq. And I wanted to talk about this because a lot of people don't know. They probably don't know Allied Domecq. They are owned by Pernod Ricard today, which is the largest wine and drink specialist. They're probably second in leading in the world, with Diageo, obviously, but Pernod Ricard announced it agreed to sell, their restaurants and really control this deal because Allied, Pedro Domecq and Allied Lions in this merger, which was quite large. So yeah, this is a wine that I wanted to point out. We also broke out because I love wine and food. So I brought out some Mexican chorizo, and actually this is a beautiful cheese. This is queso fresco cheese to pair with our Mexican red blend. They also make Cabernet Sauvignon from this particular producer, but I wanted to zero in on this because I thought Ruby Cabernet, nobody actually talks about this grape anymore, and it was created by an American, think about that, who actually blended, two different grapes. Remember now, they blended a Carignan, with Cabernet to create what's called Ruby Cabernet. The distinct interest of this wine is cherries and spice and all sorts of red fruit notes. And that's actually what you get. But let's taste this now. This is Mexican chorizo, and it's got, look, it's got jalapenos in it. So it's got a lot of spice. Mexicans like to kick it up, as they say. They like that spicy kind of food. And so a wine that was probably created, for these kind of, just for this occasion, for me personally, to taste. Well, that's a very spicy chorizo, but beautiful. Let's taste it with the wine. Oh, it holds up with the spice. It tastes the beautiful spice out of that. And also this queso, which is a traditional Mexican cheese. You can find all these things, and that's why, listen, I'm trying to make wine fun again. And when I say that, I want people to explore, because how many of you out there actually have ever had a Mexican wine? Probably none, zero, maybe a few people who have traveled maybe to Mexico City or have actually, are as adventurous as me to try different things like that. But I love food and wine, so that's the reason why I wanted to say, okay, it's very easy to find Mexican chorizo, very easy to find queso cheese, but go out and search and find Mexican wine. And, obviously everybody, thinks it's all about tequila and beer, which, again, you're right. I'm not here to say that it's not about that. But this is actually what makes it all fun, is to try cheese. Okay, queso. Oh, it's beautiful, creamy cheese. And a beautiful red blend from Mexico. Oh, that's fun. This is what it's all about, is to explore and to see wonderful areas of the world. And Mexican wine, it's got a beautiful history behind it. Again, this is a Grape Explorer, always talking about very interesting things. And I think I nailed it today with Mexican wine. Cheers.